The American red robin. Robin's specific taxonomic classification goes as follows. Latin name Turdus migratorius, kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, subphylum Vertebrata, class Aves, order Passeriformes, family Turdidae, genus Turdus, species Migratorius. The evolutionary milestones that robins have reached include multicellularity, tissues, bilateral symmetry, a body cavity, a solum, segmentation, jointed appendages, deuterostomes, and a notochord. Robins have a fully developed body cavity to allow them to fully digest, making them solomates. They also are symmetrical going down the middle of their body, giving them bilateral symmetry. Robins, like humans, have a four-chambered heart. Also like a human, oxygen-poor blood goes through the right atrium, flows into the right ventricle, and then goes to the lungs. The new oxygen-rich blood then goes to the left atrium, then the left ventricle, and then sent throughout the rest of the body to be used until the process starts again. Robins breathe with lungs, pulling air into the posterior air sacs while air from the previous breath is being expelled from the anterior air sacs. Robins' brains have different parts, which deal with sight, smell, and sound. The cerebral cortex in the front of the brain contains the cerebral tissue, and in robins, the amount is higher than in other organisms. Robins have hollow bones, which are fused together at certain parts. This causes the structure to be rigid and allows for a sturdy frame for flight. Robins move around mostly by flight, so as to avoid predators and to move around faster. However, robins are also known to hop around on the ground and from branch to branch instead of walking. Robins migrate depending on abundance of food rather than the temperature like most other birds. This makes robin migration unpredictable and makes it even harder to try and tell where robins will turn up next. Robins eat worms and fruit more than they consume seeds. The time of day also dictates what they eat because they eat worms in the morning and fruit later on. The food goes down their complete digestive tract, from mouth to pharynx to esophagus to crop to stomach and finally to the gizzard, which breaks down the food in place of teeth. The food then enters the intestine and is excreted. Robins are the first birds to breathe in North America. They create 6 to 8 inch nests, and the females lay clutches of 3 to 5 eggs that are pale blue in color. The eggs hatch 14 days later, and 2 weeks after that are old enough to leave. Hatchlings feed on worms and berries until they leave the nest. Only about 1/4 of all hatchlings will survive their next year. Robins' natural predators are cats, large snakes, and birds of prey, specifically hawks. There is also the brown-headed cowbird, which lays its eggs in robins' nests. The robins, however, usually reject the parasitic eggs and push them from the nest. Robins and humans don't often interact, but occasionally robins will use human garbage such as string or paper to line their nests as soft cushioning. As robins' diets are made largely of worms, fruit, and berries, they do not often eat out of bird feeders. Some interesting facts about robins include that robins' calls sound like a tut or a whiny sound. They can fly 20 to 30 miles per hour and even faster during migration periods. Robins can become inebriated from consuming too many berries, and it is possible to have partial or entirely albino robins. Robins live in many places, including forests, swamps, parks, gardens, and orchards, to name a few. They line the outside of the nest with grasses and brush. The second layer is of mud, tacked as glue, and the innermost layer is of softer grasses, feathers, and occasionally human garbage, such as string or paper. These are held together by the mud, which eventually dries. These nests are high in trees and not typically near the ground.